If you'd like to try what we make at Superstition, it's as easy as going to our website, superstitionmeadery.com, clicking on Web Store, and you're shopping. Make sure you follow us on social media because we release new products almost every week, and you might just find your next favorite craft beverage. Cheers.
I'm down here at Superstition downtown, and I'm going to talk to you guys about a couple of the meads that we have that I'm really enjoying right now. A couple are limited, one's here all the time, but all three of these are great, especially for the hotter summer months. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown. The first one is Cuban Mojito Crisis. So this is from our Session Mead line. It is a sparkling mead, think mojito in a can, but with a mead twist. So pretty classic ingredients, just lime, mint, and of course mead. The second one is Lagrimas de Oro. In this beautiful glow-in-the-dark bottle, which you can't see right now, but I promise it does glow in the dark. If you try it, you won't be disappointed. I'm not lying. This is a bourbon barrel-aged mesquite traditional mead. So what that means is there's nothing but honey in this product. So Arizona mesquite honey and thyme in a bourbon barrel. And the last one is something that I'm really stoked on. It's Velocity Raptor. So this was a collab with some good friends of mine. They're out of Sacramento area. They're called Movement Brewing. And I met them at a festival in San Diego for Mostra Coffee's anniversary last year. And we kind of just hit it off. They make great beer. And we decided in that moment that we need to learn how to open a bottle. We needed to do something together. And after talking back and forth, Velocity Raptor is what we came up with. So this is oranges, plums, and almonds. Look at that beautiful color. All right, so first up, we're gonna try Cuban Mojito Crisis. Nice, light, 6% sparkling mead. The first thing that jumps out when you try this one is refreshing. And that's what I really like about it. So when you think about mead and, from my perspective, being the production manager here at Superstition, when we talk about a line of products, you have things you think of when you think of mead. And my job is to help challenge that idea. So a lot of people think sweet when they think of mead. Mojito is a sweeter drink, so is mead, but we think about how we reimagine it. For this format specifically with the can, we start with a little bit of a drier base, and then we want to make sure we come in heavy with the mint and make sure the lime doesn't take over. So what you wind up with is something really light, not like any traditional mead you've ever had before. The honey flavor is restrained so that the mint is really the star of the show, and the honey is kind of acting like the simple syrup that comes in, with the mojito. So the lime, essentially the same thing. It's an accent for the drink. So when we talked about this, the idea was not a mint lime mead, but mint with lime. And the honey comes in on the back end just to provide that sweetness and help to amplify the other flavors. The other nice thing with this one is that it's carbonated. So when I'm thinking about a hot day like today, it's 102 degrees here in Phoenix. This is what I want. It's so refreshing. It's in a can, nice, easy to transport. Goes down easy. It's only 6%. You think a lot of meads, they're going to be that 12 to 14% range. Like a lot of our products are even LDO here. This batch came out at 16%. This, super simple. You're going to the baseball game. Let's say it's an early season football game at ASU. This is perfect. Or really anywhere. It's hot most of the country for football season at the beginning. And this won't kill you before you go to the game. The second one is going to be LDO. And again, this bottle is beautiful. It took us a long time to get this one right, but I think it turned out wonderfully. And what's inside it is one of my favorite things that we do from our core lineup. So if you come to Superstition, you're pretty much always going to see LDO. And what I like about it is it's kind of easygoing. If you're starting to sense a theme here, I like easier going beverages. I like to be challenged, and have a thought-provoking thing. But when you can do that in a very simple way, I think that's really cool. And that's what LDO is. You know, it's just mesquite honey. So we're getting spicier characteristic from that. It's going to be a little bit drier of a base than our typical meads. So for something like Marion or peanut butter jelly crime, those are going to start with a little bit more sweetness. And we've got some fruit added in. With Lagrimas de Oro, we really don't have that. So a little bit drier, gives that spirit and barrel character room to shine. And this one's fun because of how different all the barrels come to be. So every now and again, we'll hold some back for a product like Black Rose, or if we have another product that we want to do, we have an idea that we need a bourbon barrel-aged mesquite mead for, we'll have to go through and pick a blend out with the barrels from this one. And that's where it really gets fun. Because going through all of the barrels, you get wildly different characteristics from each and every one. So what we did, our head mead maker Tim and I came up with a system. It works for us. People tell us it's weird, but it works for us. We rate the barrels 1, 2, or 3, and there's delineations of those. We kind of understand what we like from a 2 versus a 3, but with a 1, that'll be a barrel that's really good character from the mead or good character from the barrel. A 2 is going to be a barrel that exemplifies both of those things. So from a 2, the mead is singing, we're getting great barrel character. From a 3, we take that 2 and it's gone off somewhere else. So, you know, we've had barrels of this that were 3s where we're getting intense raspberry notes. And exactly how that happens from a Willet bourbon barrel, I don't know, but that's kind of the magic of barrels, and that's why it's fun. You never know what you're going to get from them. So we love those. We've had them show chocolate, all sorts of flavors. And when we get those that are really interesting, those are our 3s. So then picking out and making something where we're not going to run over the best barrels, we're not going to leave anything behind, and obviously if we have a barrel that's truly bad, we won't put that in the blend. Fortunately, we don't have that problem very often. But I like the artistry of the blending with this one. And when it comes out in the glass, you get the bourbon on the nose, you get the oak, the vanillins, you get a lot of that. The mead shines through, you have a little bit of sweetness, it's a little spicier, but it comes out almost every time like almost white winey. And I love white wine. I like I said, I want to be challenged with simplicity. I love big crazy things, stuff like Tongaberry or some of our other guild meads are a lot of fun. But when you have something that's this simple, you know, there's 2 ingredients, honey and bourbon barrels. That's really it. We've got water, but that's it. And what comes out, each batch is different, each blend is different, each barrel is different. And for us, that makes it a lot of fun to make. When we go, we check on it about 3 to 4 months in. And when we come back a minimum of 3 to 4 months later, we see barrels that we had rated a 1 that are now a 3. We see barrels that we thought would turn into a 3 that are maybe just a 2. You never know what you're going to get with this mead and with each barrel. And I think for me, having worked with a lot of barrels in my career, I really like this mead for that. And the last one that I want to talk to you guys about today is Velocity Raptor, which super fun label, super fun people that we made it with. If you're not familiar with our friends Movement Brewing up in Sacramento area, you should check them out. They do a lot of fun beers, great lineup, better people. When we met those guys, they kind of came up and I had one of their beers in my hand. We got to talk and it was like, oh, you work for Superstition. We really love mead. We love your mead. We're hoping we get to meet you today. And sorry, I can't hold it for too long without taking a sip. It's really good. We got to talking and decided we wanted to do some collaborations. So we went up and saw them. We made a Saison with honey, which turned out great. We're really stoked that we get to do that, especially myself and some of our other production team are former brewers. And beer like a Saison, a lot of brewers are gonna be really into making that. So to get to do that with some friends, I think was really cool and special, especially because they used some of our honey from Arizona. They got some Arizona orange blossom honey and put that in there. So when we were thinking about what we wanted to do with Velocity Raptor and with this collaboration, it's an orange, plum, and almond mead. So you can see the beautiful color. A little bit of that's from the oranges, but mostly the plum is where you get that reddish hue. We were thinking about what do we do with this mead? Do we want to make a cake in a bottle? Do we want to make something that's all fruit? Do we want to make something totally off the wall? And I think the most fun thing with collaborations is the expectation that we've never done this before. We're doing something that is totally new to us, totally new to you. We're going to try something out. You know, it's not just making an IPA and putting different hops in it. We want to try something new when we do these. So we don't want to just do another strawberry mead. We already make strawberry mead. So what we decided for this was whatever we want to do, we want to ferment the fruit. And what we picked was oranges. So we got a blend of navel, mandarin, and blood oranges. We got about 200 pounds and ground them up in a big old apple grinder. It kind of looks like a Tonka truck. It's this big yellow chute, aptly named Shoot Dude. And we dump them all through there, and that was a part of the must that we added in pre-fermentation, which also comes with the fun of doing punch downs during fermentation. So you get this big mat, thick mat of orange matter that floats to the top and being held up by the CO2 that's let off by the fermentation. So you take a big old stainless steel paddle and you just kind of push it down throughout the course of the fermentation. That keeps it submerged, helps to pull flavor, helps to stop any kind of like mold from growing on top of it. So very important, but also big flavor impact. So we started with the orange. We knew we wanted to start there. We're gonna do orange, we're gonna ferment it, which is unusual. You don't usually see people fermenting oranges. And that's something I've always loved. I used to have an orange tree in my yard in California, and I fermented the orange juice into a different kind of orange wine one day. And I thought that was neat. So we tried it with this. And the next step was, okay, where do we go from there? Is it just the oranges, or are we gonna try something else entirely? So we went down the rabbit hole. What kind of ingredients do we use? Back and forth. Is it vanilla? Is it another fruit? Is it some kind of chocolate, or, you know, some tea? Whatever it is, we use literally everything and anything when we work through projects like this at Superstition, which is a big thing that I love working here, is we kind of have that open range to do that with something like a collaboration or guild meads, where the gloves kind of come off and we get to make what we want. So ultimately what we thought of was plum would be pretty cool to work with. Kind of contrast the orange. You bring in some acidity, but you bring a rounder characteristic with it. And so it helps to stave off that bite a little bit. So we've got a lot of intense aroma from all the different oranges that we used for this and the amount that we use. So we used 200 pounds. It was maybe a 200-gallon batch. So the plum comes in, it brings some fresh aroma, it brings some beautiful color to it. I mean, it looks like a nice, little bit more intense than a rosé, nice orange hue to it. But we didn't want to stop there. 2 fruits is boring. It's not boring, but we've done that. So we wanted to take it one step further. So when we're thinking about where do we go next, you know, all of us kind of got to nuts would be a cool addition. And the reason that we wanted to do that is nuts bring a little bit of that like kind of fatty, almost umami character. And that's gonna help us round out that acidity. So anything where you might have that savoriness, I've often found with an acidic drink, kind of like this if we had put them in, that helps you to almost fool your palate into thinking it's not quite as acidic as it's gonna be. So we have that savoriness, we have the acid, we've got a nice balance created by the two of those. We have intense aroma from the amount of oranges that we use, from the plum that we came in with. And then the almond is just kind of, it's a background note, but it ties it all together. So what you get is a really refreshing summer beverage. It's got the sweetness to balance the acidity. It's got the savoriness from the almonds to balance the acidity. And the way I kind of like to think of the almonds in this one is kind of like the rug in Big Lebowski. It really tied the room together. And that is why this is one of my favorites, if not for just the fact that I got to hang out with some great guys. So thanks for going through these with me today. I really appreciate it, and cheers.